step off this field and I take my helmet off and I'm a black man walking around America, and I'm telling you I'm dealing with these things. I'm telling you my communities are dealing with these things.
The larger change that all of us really want is a process. We're seeing, and what we all feel is that we're tired of waiting for that process. We wanted to speed up.
For sure, that kind of hit home for me. I was in my neighborhood where it happened at that Wendy's in Atlanta.
No justice! You need to use your voice. No matter how big or small your platform is, you need to use your voice.
Maybe it's time to have a tough conversation with one of your friends.
Until we actually start to recognize the ways in which we've had privilege, it's not going to change.
Our communities are under siege, and we need help.
Tonight, calls for change on the streets and in just days on the basketball court.
Athletes are saying and wearing the names of people who certainly knew their names, wore their jerseys, and loved the game even as they took their last breaths.
Tonight, sports figures nationwide and right here at home are speaking up to become champions of change.
As you'll hear in this Project Community Special, athletes tell us those actions are a matter of life and death.
Defensive end Cam Jordan is one of the few Saints players who makes his full-time year-round home in New Orleans. He's a force in the community, so it should come as no surprise he was part of a peaceful march in New Orleans protesting the murder of George Floyd. Cam's teammate Malcolm Jenkins has become such a powerful voice on social justice issues. He's been hired by CNN as a correspondent discussing race and police brutality in minority communities. On the court, Derek Favors is a defensive anchor for the Pelicans. And back in his hometown of Atlanta, he was anchoring peaceful protests for Rashard Brooks because for him, this is personal.
That was in my neighborhood where it happened at that Wendy's in Atlanta. So that kind of hit home for me.
Favors' head coach, Alvin Gentry, also took part in peaceful protests in New Orleans. Pelicans and Saints owner Gail Benson decided the 113-year-old brewery she owns needed to be rebranded, so the name Dixie Beer will be changed.
No justice, no peace.
And these are just a few examples of sports stars starring off the field and off the court because
now it is time for all of us, athletes, coaches, and media, to do our part to make this country better.
Alvin Gentry and his Pelicans will tip off in the first game of the NBA restart on July 30th, and when they do, the courts will look different. The league has painted the words Black Lives Matter on all the courts.
And the NBA is allowing players to alter their uniforms. Instead of their names on the backs of their jerseys, they can have messages like Black Lives Matter, I can't breathe, and say their names. This is something the Premier League in England started doing when they resumed play earlier this month. Right now, you're looking at soccer players in the UK and the slogans on their uniforms. Pelicans player JJ Redick talked to us about why reading and speaking these words are so very important.
Obviously, we need to change some of the way that we portray, the way that we talk about, the way that we treat people, but the system itself needs to change. So I think that's the more important piece for our league is how do we help in creating systemic change.
Players in the National Women's Soccer League and in Major League Soccer are also allowed to wear warm-ups with social justice slogans pregame and postgame, and as you can see from these photos, many are doing just that.
You know, the highest ranking female executive in the NBA is proud to call New Orleans home. I'm talking about former WNBA All-Star Swin Cash. She's never been afraid to speak up, speak her mind, and champion change. I sat down with her and we talked about a lot, including one fear she experiences each and every single day.
All right, Swin, let's just go ahead and get right into things. Going back to 2016, after the killing of Philando Castile and the killing of Alton Sterling here in Louisiana, you were on the forefront of the conversation then, much like you are right now. Talk about 2016 and what that was like for you and the differences that you've seen is in regards to the conversation and the push that you're trying to do.
Yeah, so I think back in 2016, for me, was a really pivotal time, I think, in my adult life, because all the stories that you hear growing up from your grandmother, from your mom, the civil rights movement, the inequities within our country, it all just kind of came to a halt for me. As you said, watching both those men lose their life in that way. And so being in leadership in the WNBA and also with the union, we took a stand. And I felt that by taking that stand that we would continue to do the work and see, progress happen. And here we are now in 2020, and the same things are happening at even a higher clip. And so for me, it really was not about rest right now. And it's really about continuing to fight for the inequities and for the policies that need to change in order to make Black and brown communities safer, and for them to be afforded the American dream that we all think about.
Speaking of being a champion of change, Swin, what is one message that you would lend to our allies, to those who want to help, who are protesting, but don't really know what to do from that point? What would your advice be to them?
My first thing would be is to educate yourself, to watch movies. There are movies that are out there on so many different things that you can learn about. Also, go and talk to people, talk to friends. A lot of times people love to say, oh, what are you talking about? I have Black friends. I have friends of different races. But are you having those really tough internal conversations? Talk to your friends, learn about them, learn about their culture. And then the last thing I would say is, don't be afraid to have those conversations with your own family. Because a lot of times you have allies that don't even realize that their families maybe have been part of the problem. And so I think it comes down to us just having a lot of courage, having a lot of people that are willing to sacrifice right now for the real change we want to see.
How do you get over that fear as a mother of a Black son, wondering, could he be next? That's the phrase that we hear a lot from people is my son next?
Yeah. I don't think you ever get over that fear. I don't think America has given me any hope or shown me any change over the last how many years that I could rest at night without fearing that. I look at my son right now, who's adorable at 2.5. I look at people of all races that walk up and talk about how cute he is. And then I think about his dad, that's 6'6". And at some point, my son will be 6'6", 6'7", or taller. And when does that cuteness turn into fear? That's what I have to worry about on a day in and day basis. So any mother that's out there that has a child, you understand what I'm saying, and that should summon you to want to be on the front lines of change for this country.
Swin Cash, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate you and joining in on this important conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and go Pels.
The Pelicans' most tenured player, Jrue Holiday, found himself in handcuffs after his wife says she was driving without a license. He did nothing wrong, wasn't even in the car, but he was cuffed. The experience changed his wife Lauren's life and transformed how their entire family now champion change. A two-time Olympic gold medalist and World Cup champion Lauren Holiday is also the wife of Pelican star guard Jrue Holiday. Together since their days as student athletes at UCLA, Lauren, who's now retired from professional soccer, recently penned a powerful op-ed for the website The Players Tribune. In it, she details an incident where Jrue was racially profiled by police. She also goes on to discuss feelings she's experienced dealing with race. Lauren writes, I'm also realizing how privileged I've been as a white person to have encountered racism like I have and to have been able to compartmentalize it, to have been able to get angry about it on a personal level, but then to move on with my day, to have been able to move on, period. And that's why I've decided to come forward and write this. I've stayed silent for way too long, and I'm sorry.
Extremely proud to be able to put herself out there and express how she feels firsthand. I think when I first read it, I thought she was going to try to tell it through my eyes, per se, like kind of what I saw or what she saw through my eyes. But I think how she described it and how she saw it through her eyes and how it made her feel was, man, it really hit my heart. It really made me feel like, which I already did before, but my wife is a beast. I have the best wife in the world to be able to go through these social things together, and for her to understand my side and even the culture that I come from. So again, extremely proud and happy, and glad the article turned out really, really well.
Lauren Holiday's letter is part of a recent wave of activity from high-profile sports figures in New Orleans, hoping to bring about positive change. Recently, Saints and Pelicans owner Gail Benson formed a social justice leadership coalition in her organizations, led by Saints player Demario Davis, in Pelicans J.J. Redick, in Lonzo Ball. The group's goal will be to advocate for and see through changes when dealing with black and brown communities.
I'm really grateful that JJ and Lonzo, our Players Alliance that is working hand in hand with the Saints organization, is working to figure out exactly where we're going to put our energy and our efforts, and not where we're going to put our sort of linguistic skills. After a while, you don't need to talk about how dangerous this has been and how vile racism is. You need to start to effectively change it on a grassroots level, and so I hope that's what comes out of this.
It's about communication and education, and maybe it's time to have a tough conversation with one of your friends that you guys kind of avoided. It's been great because my son, he's had a lot of conversations with his friends that he went to school with at Newman, and and for a lot of those guys, they just said, I didn't know. It's not that I didn't care, but I just didn't know. So I think educating and having conversations and being able to talk to each other and being able to ask questions is what our guys are trying to also implement in their voice, that is going to be heard in these situations.
Still to come tonight, a Saints tackle speaks about how the team is tackling the tough talk.
The uncomfortable conversation, making that more comfortable without so much